Hello, everybody. Justin Stivers. Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of the Stivers Show. Very excited about my guest today, Tim Sechler with the Sechler Law Firm up in Mars, Pennsylvania.
That's right.
I have no clue where that is. Sounds like the candy would be my guess, but some relation.
Yeah, that's wrong. It's a northern suburb of Pittsburgh. So
gotcha. All right,
you
cool.
can say Pittsburgh. That would work.
Gotcha. Anyways, Tim is a elder law, estate planning, estate administration attorney up there, and again another referral from Molly, and you guys have heard her on this episode on this show before as well. So, anyways, before we got a lot to talk about, Tim. Before we kind of dive in, I always like to start. Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so cool. Thanks for this. This is fun. So I think the reason Molly introduced us is our practices are in the same area, but not really all that similar. So, I have an estate planning elder law practice up in the Pittsburgh area, and I got into this work 9 years ago now, due to the elder law piece of it. So I wanted to help people protect assets from long-term care expenses, and I guess to make a story. And sort of my story relevant is when I was in school, undergrad, I was in the military for a little bit. And then when I was in law school, my grandfather had a almost 10-year skilled nursing facility stay. And it was all private pay, which, I don't know what it costs in Miami, but up here, it's about $130 grand a year. Today's dollars, this was back in 1997 through 2007. And so anyway, you could do your own math, but we went through a pile of money. My grandmother wrote checks to a skilled nursing facility for 10 years. And the problem there is not the nursing home. The problem there is this crazy nursing home Medicaid system that we have that requires you to go broke if you have Alzheimer's disease, right? And so, my grandfather had passed away while I was in law school, and I went to go work for a big law firm in Pittsburgh. And one weekend I was visiting my folks, and my dad had told me sort of the financials of what had gone on with my granddad. And, it just something didn't set right. All this money went out the door. And why? Because he had Alzheimer's disease and Medicare didn't pay for it, right? If he had cancer and the treatment was chemotherapy or radiation, Medicare would have paid for that. But he had Alzheimer's disease, which means you got to pay privately at 10 grand a month, right? So I started looking into it, and the law school I went to to my knowledge, still does not have an elder law course, right? They had the estate stuff and all the rest, but I started doing this homework on the side and realized with some of the things that elder law attorneys were doing, probably could have saved my own grandparents multiple six figures, and so I decided to do it. So that was 2011. I quit the law firm, the big Pittsburgh firm job, to go out on my own. I had a business partner for a long time. We parted ways 4 years ago now, 3-4 years ago now. And so that was really the why I started the thing. Now, the practice has sort of evolved to, we still do a lot of that work, which we call nursing home crisis work, right? So if your granddad goes in the nursing home and has some stuff and family wants to know how to protect it, there's some techniques that we use to help protect assets in that sort of financial crisis scenario. Because I do that work, you end up writing a lot of estate planning documents, wills and powers of attorney. And so then now my estate planning practice, the wills and the trusts, has overtaken in size the Medicaid practice, because with Medicaid you need a sick person. With estate planning you need an alive person as your potential client. If you're we all need to have some sort of an estate planning an estate plan, and so the whole world is a potential client. It's just understanding that people in different situations, different age categories, different stages of life need different estate plans. And so while I got into it to sort of do that Medicaid crisis stuff, it has really evolved into a broader estate planning practice where we do a lot of, planning for young families with their kids, all the way up to nursing home asset protection trusts for our retirees and seniors. And recently a lot of IRA planning with this whole Secure Act deal and what's going on there, but which we could, if you wanted to take a technical deep dive or a political argument, that's one that we could agree that we're ticked off about or whatever. But and then we do some estate administration work, like you. So, but like it's more organic. I have an estate administration practice because I write wills and trusts, not because we're actively out getting it, but it's something that we're interested in learning about. So that's kind of like my background in my law firm, in what we do.
I'm curious. So the Medicaid, that what you kind of started in, right? What kind of got you into it? The Medicaid planning, and I feel like people would not even know that they need to go see an attorney at that point. I mean, how do they even know? How do they even know to go see you?
Yeah. It's funny how when you get your first $11,000 monthly bill, you start looking for answers, right? So, when that bill starts coming every month and you realize they're not going to stop. But also the nursing homes themselves, like some nursing homes, based on their business model, it's been my experience that some nursing homes really want private pay residents because private payers pay more than Medicaid will pay. Some nursing homes just want paid and they think Medicaid is a fair or whatever. They're willing to accept the Medicaid payment. And so their staff will say, hey, Mrs. Jones, you writing us these $10,000 monthly checks, you got to go speak with an elder law attorney. And so we get a lot of referrals from the healthcare community. We do a lot of networking with healthcare professionals up here, nursing homes, in-home care providers, hospital discharge planners. That's an area where we do a lot of network marketing, I suppose. But it's usually somebody has to say, hey, you should chat with somebody, right? Or you start Googling, you go to the billing office of the nursing home, they tell you what it's going to cost, and you go to the internet and put in something like saving assets from the nursing home, right? And then you're going to find information about elder law. But until then, you're really not looking for,
So I'm curious, we were talking a little bit before we started filming, and I had a friend colleague on, and she's in Brooklyn, and she does planning work, kind of similar work as you do. And, the planning side of things is always a challenge. Like, you go to anyone and everyone, like if you tell them I do estate plan, or if you say, hey, I write wills and trusts, everyone is always like, oh yeah, I need to do that, right? Like everyone's response is always like, oh yeah, I've been meaning to do that. But they don't, right? Like most people don't, which is why I'm able to have a probate practice, because most people don't have stuff properly planned out. I'm curious, and with COVID, the now more than ever is kind of like, well, this is why you have this stuff in place, but it's kind of like catch-22, because obviously you got to pay for it. And if cash is tight, maybe thinking about end of life wishes and what happens to you afterwards is like secondary to, how am I going to pay rent this month? So
yeah,
have you kind of, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, so marketing generally, I would say a lot of like our reputation and a lot of what I'm putting out there is around the elder law piece, right? So we actually call estate planning pre-planning here, because it's the language is we're pre-planning for the nursing home a lot, right? So we do a lot of trust design to protect assets from the nursing home in Pennsylvania rather than in Florida. Your house is subject to the nursing home, okay? So in Florida, you guys have the house is exempt from the estate recovery program, but it's not in Pennsylvania. So if you're in a nursing home in Pennsylvania and you still own your house, they don't count it as an eligibility standpoint, but they when you pass away, they'll recover against your estate for the value of the house. And so and people know that, right? So a lot of our messaging is asset protection, right? It's not you need a will. It's protect your life savings. Now, how COVID has affected that, and I think how it affected a lot of business, frankly. I mean, if you were looking at buying a $2,500 couch in February, right, and you were about to go do it, and then the world shut down, you're probably still talking about maybe buying that couch next year, right? So like if you were contemplating a relatively decent size purchase, you're probably still contemplating it, and that was the thing. So like, it is easy to put estate planning on the back burner, because even in this pandemic, people are still of the it's not going to happen to me kind of thing, or I got plenty of time kind of thing, right? Early, I would say early, we got a lot of calls. Like when March, when the thing was heating up, and in particular, different demographics than we normally see. We saw a lot of young families with kids wanting to make sure that they had stuff in place. So we had sort of this rush in March and April, and then it kind of petered out to where like the normal people, our normal clients, where we're pushing the asset protection from the nursing home. Right now, the nursing home isn't the biggest fear, right? It's the pandemic, and so like people aren't really thinking about it. I don't know, but I would say we're recording this mid-July. Last couple of weeks, last 3-4 weeks, things are getting back to normal as far as people calling and stuff. But
Yeah.
in June, there weren't a lot of people reaching out to us for estate plans. I think they were just staying at home.
Yeah. I'm curious, to that point, because one of the things one of my passions, I think one of your passions as well, is marketing and people watching other solo small law firms. It's interesting to watch. Everyone's like, I feel like just you see a lot more people out there on social media just doing different things that they've never done before, because they're like, crap, we got to keep the lights on, we got to do something. And then you don't hear from a lot of people, which is going to be really bad from them, a couple of months from now. I'm curious, how have you and your team, because I know you said a little bit of a slow time, 2 months ago or past couple of months, but what are you all doing to keep keep getting out there and stuff? Because obviously it's different times right now.
Yeah, well, in the estate planning practice, we have a traditional workshop-based workflow. So February, March, last summer, we would run 3-4 workshops a month where we'd market to fill a room to discuss wills and trusts and powers of attorney and long-term care and probate avoidance and all the technical stuff. Then we'd offer a free consultation. Well, starting in March, we couldn't have those groups get together anymore, so we shifted to digital. If you went to my website right now, you'd find an asset protection pre-recorded workshop that you can register for and watch. And we did a lot of that. But honestly, the conversion rates weren't great. Like I still and I don't know, you don't know whether to plan it on. We just pieced it together on Zoom and it wasn't well produced. You don't know whether to blame it on people aren't going to respond well to digital, or you don't know whether to blame it on people just don't want to spend money right now, right? So it wouldn't matter how we were doing it, So I'm careful to draw conclusions on that works or it doesn't work, but that was like the only thing we could do at the time. And then and another interesting thing that we've done, it's one of these things where you learn lessons and you adapt, but this is one that I'm not getting away from, is used to be the case, like when we would sell somebody a will or a trust, that we would complete their documents, they'd come in for the signing meeting, I'd sit with them, I'd explain their documents, but you can go through a stack of paper 1.5 inches thick in an hour, and they got a headache, you got a headache, it hasn't been a pleasant experience for anybody.
No one's happy.
And then I got to go do another one, right? And so what we started doing was, and this is just something, and we've got really good feedback from our client base, is we're now sending out the documents for review, which I really didn't like to do before because I was afraid I was going to get stiffed, but that hasn't seemed to happen. It hadn't happened yet. And I recorded myself on Zoom going through some generic documents. So I drafted like my normal will-based plan, a normal trust-based plan. I created Hank and Wendy Sample was the name of the family, and we did the document. So
those are very Pennsylvania names. Those wouldn't fly down here in Miami.
Hank and Wendy. You need your own H&W, whatever that looks like. So you can keep track husband and wife, right? But or whatever, spouse 1, spouse 2, if you want. Sure. But then I just reviewed I basically recorded my signing meeting 4 or 5 different times. So this is a password protection part of the website, but you could go in and just have your document at your kitchen table, watch the video, flip through and get it. And then we would follow up with a Zoom call, and we still are. But the Zoom call with the client is now 15 minutes because it's like, hey, did you have a chance to watch the video? Did you review them? And they're like, yeah, and I only have these 3 questions, right? So it has been a time saver on our end, because now when they come in a signing meeting, it's a signing meeting. It's not a document review and signing meeting. So
but they're still coming into the office to sign.
We're doing steering wheel signing meetings.
Okay.
So because like I am starting to see clients in the office again. Like in Pennsylvania, we're allowed to do that. I've got plexiglass and face masks between me and them. But you can't really do a signing meeting that way. There's too much stuff going back and forth. So since we've reviewed that, they've watched it online. I know they've reviewed their stuff. We've had a Zoom call where we're talking about it, answer their questions, make any fixes. Now when they come in, it's just, we walk out with signature pages on a clipboard and they sign it right in the parking lot with 2 witnesses and a notary watching. And then we come back inside because, with a signing meeting, the law seems to always be behind everything else, right? I mean, so we still need notarization and 2 signatures, 2 witnesses, and like all of this headache where the rest of the world is all, e-document signing on real estate transactions and whatnot. But we've got in the law, in the statutes, you got to have 2 witnesses and a notary in person.
Yeah, it's a very outdated system.
It just is. And for whatever reason, that's what we got. So we still have to witness and notarize the documents. And Pennsylvania made a push to do online notarization, but man, if you try to explain that to an 80-year-old client who, it just doesn't work. And so we're doing it the old-fashioned way, but just they're in their car.
So I'm curious on the presentations, the seminar, because that was a big part of the, bringing in clients was through the seminar.
We started them again. I did one yesterday.
Okay, you're doing because I'm curious, like if that, because I do a lot of presentations as well, and I haven't even like really thought about doing the presentations again, but I'm curious if you think people are going to be nervous, and if there's because the recorded seminars definitely aren't the same, right? It's not going to be you're not going to have the same response and the same. But I don't know. That might be that might be the way to do it, though.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons that we like to do seminars and is because you get to know the client, they get to know you, right? I mean, if a client is calling you for a will and you've got wills on your website, they assume you know what you're talking about, right? So the in my mind, yeah, we actually, in my opinion, our workshop is full of awesome content, but I think what it's really about is the client trying to figure out if they want to work with this guy. And it's really hard to pull off the same thing on Zoom or on a pre-recorded video. So we've tried live webinars, but your show-up rate is terrible. And so we've done 2 in-person workshops. And now Pennsylvania is a very different situation from what you guys are experiencing in Florida right now. Our numbers have been going down or even and aren't as terrifying as they are elsewhere right now. So we're allowed to get groups of people together. Now, I used to do the workshops in a room here in the office that we could fit 20, but it'd be 20 sitting right next to each other, right? So we ended up renting a space. There's a space a mile from the office that is available for rent pretty cheaply, and it's a big room. And so now, and they've got it just worked out because it's close and they've got plastic tables and you can separate everybody. So now when they come in and they'll come in and we have hand sanitizer on every table and require everybody to wear masks. And, I haven't been wearing a mask, but I'm standing 20 feet away from everybody. And so we're doing it. We'll see. Like, the first one that I've actually really marketed hard is not until the end of July. It's 2 weeks out. So right now, I think we have 8 or 10 people RSVP'd, but you'll see what the show up rate is. We had, I think yesterday we had 7 RSVP'd, which is a really low number historically, but given the situation, but I think 4 showed up. So, we'll see. But we're trying it. I mean,
Yeah, I've had the misfortune of being the speaker in a room of one other person. It's demoralizing.
I'll tell you what I did yesterday with the guy. He came in, the first guy that came in, we did it at 6 o'clock last night. It was like 5:58, right? So I'm thinking I'm going to get one guy. So I sent my staff person home and I was chatting with this guy a little bit before the thing. And here, you can do outside seating at restaurants. So we had already agreed if nobody else showed up, we were just going to go down the street and sit outside. And I was going to buy him a beer and just like do an initial consultation. But then 3 other families.
I probably would have said, send the other 2 home. I should still.
Yeah.
So. Nice, man. Well, so where do you see, where do you kind of see things going from here? If you, I know it's hard to tell, but clearly I think, we didn't get into this, and maybe we'll do another one, but I wanted to chat a little bit about, you had a successful firm before, and then you were able to, pretty quickly, build another successful firm in a short amount of time. So you clearly know something about, building a business, a law firm business, but these times are different. So
The key right now for me is flexibility. I'm still very bullish on where the law firm is going, but I think we got a tough ride for the next 6 months. I mean, who knows, right? And so I've been watching my fixed commitments. For example, um, everybody's been working from home, and I realized they're working okay from home. And in fact, most of my staff likes working from home. And so I had the space I'm sitting in right now. We outgrew, and so I leased an adjoining space, or it's down the road a little bit, but we leased a second space to house some of the back office production work. And all those folks have been working from home. So that lease happened to pop up June 15th. And it's like, no, not really this lease, because, and we may need it again, but I'm relatively confident the guy's not going to fill the space anytime soon, and so that saved us some overhead. We did have to go through an unfortunate round of layoffs because I had a new attorney, and him working from home, just, it didn't make sense for either buddy, and he's landing well. So we brought down our overhead a little bit, and we're looking at some back office outsourcing options for estate plan drafting and funding, because like we're ramping back up. You can already feel it start to happen, but if we get shut down again, I don't want to bring people in, lay them off, bring people in, lay them off. So we're looking at some outsourced solutions for some of our more regular stuff that isn't as customized. Because then if I do 5 estate plans in a month, fine. If I do 25 estate plans in a month, it's someone else's staffing problem, and so that's one thing we're looking at. And I think some of the lessons we're learning on digital marketing are here to stay. And I think another thing that's going to be a takeaway, just like I was explaining in our new signing your documents procedure, I think Zoom is a way of life now. I think that even if there was a vaccine tomorrow, I still think half of my clients would prefer to do a Zoom consultation than they would come in person. And so, fine by me. I don't mind it at all.
yeah, I agree. And just I don't know if you're like me, but I used to, pre all of this, do a ton of lunches and coffees and different things like that. Those are done for me. I'm not doing them I'm not doing them anymore. Like, if we need to meet, we can do a Zoom call or something like that. But
I haven't done one of those. Yeah.
I do want to do a happy hour. I would like to go to a bar and do a happy hour soon, but that's not happening soon.
Yeah, I'm with you there. But
well, Tim, I know we're running up run up on our time here. Is there anything, I always like to kind of leave, people watching, any advice, any recommendations from, either from a business perspective, marketing perspective, either, what you're doing now that you would recommend to people, or when you started, people just building a business, any, open to anything.
Yeah. So if I can do like my biggest legal pet peeve first is get a darn power of attorney. Just get a power of attorney and make sure you have a good power of attorney, because you never know. And like if you have folks that are still living or whatever, make sure they have a good power of attorney, because I've seen so many people lose assets because they don't have a power of attorney document, or they got poorly drafted power of attorney document. Just make sure we've got a way to transfer control if you get sick. So that's kind of like my pet peeve there. As far as the business, some months I spent a fortune in marketing and advertising. I spent a fortune in advertising, but still the best is personal referrals and from clients and financial folks or whatever. And so it's just, I don't know, treat people right. It's so cliche to say that, but treat people right and follow up on your promises and do what you tell them you're going to do. You help yourself by helping others, I guess.
Awesome, man. Love it. Well, I know, how can people find you? I know you've got a show as well. If people want to get in contact, follow you, what's all that good stuff?
Yeah, sure. So I have a podcast too called the Life and Legacy Show. So it's actually brand new. It's one of our new digital marketing things that we started over the coronavirus. So if you search for that on iTunes or your Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you should find it. Life and Legacy Show. My last name is Sechler, Sechler. So with those, you should be able to find the show. But website, sechlerlawfirm.com. I've got all those estate planning workshops are still up there. You can sign up for them, even if you're not in Pennsylvania. It's good information, and you can work with somebody local. But yeah, and if anybody wants to chat about anything I talked about, you can find all our stuff on the website. Happy to do it.
Cool. Thank you, brother Tim. Appreciate it, man. Stay safe up there, and we'll have you back on, man. It was fun. Appreciate it, brother.
Awesome. Very fun. Yeah.
Thanks. Take care, man.